the next 3 sessions, the filmmakers have really sort of innovated new ways of connecting with their audiences, interacting with them and collaborating with them and raising money with them in all kinds of different ways. So our first speaker is M. Strange. He's come from San Jose to join us. And he's an award-winning filmmaker who made an animation feature film. It was his first feature film called We Are the Strange. He made it on a tiny budget, totally independently. Critics have described it as something that looks like $70 million, made by a studio. I don't know if that's some kind of insult or not to you. But he's going to talk about why he's chosen to work totally independently and how he's raised a massive fan base online for his work.
Yeah, okay. Hello there. My name is M. Strange. I'm a professional weirdo. Just to give you some little background as to why I'm here and what I'm doing, there's a very famous Francis Ford Coppola quote from the early 80s that he said, "Someday when the technology's affordable enough, some little fat girl in Ohio will get her father's video camera and make some masterpiece, and then the professionality of filmmaking will be destroyed forever." Well, I'm not a girl, and I'm on a diet, but I used affordable tools and I made this crazy film that in the mainstream film business, they didn't understand it, they didn't want it, but I was able to make a name and a face for myself through the magic of the internet, and I exist because of YouTube, so if you hate my guts, blame YouTube. So let's begin. No one said yes. Okay, whatever. I'm gonna start anyway. So here's a little bit of information about my film. It's an animated feature. It's not a short, so it's 94 minutes long. I did it all pretty much by myself in a bedroom over the course of 3 years, and the budget was like $20,000, and that was just mostly for computers and food. And I did all the work, so I wrote it, directed it, animated it, composited it, edited, whatever. And kind of that's my philosophy, or those are my principles rolling into my new film, where the more work you do on your own and the cheaper you do it, when you're done, you have no debt, so you have more flexibility. And I'll talk more about the risks you can take when it comes to distribution when you don't have all this stuff hanging over your head. So I just say, work harder and do it as cheap as possible while maintaining high quality. So, and just like something like I think Liz mentioned. So I made it in a bedroom, nothing fancy. I'll show you where I made it. So this was my first studio, which was a little studio space that I rented for $100 USD a month. And then I ran out of money, so I had to move everything into the more professional bedroom studio. So as you see here, that's a little render farm over there. And then there's my keyboard I made the music with and all this stuff. So it's all self-contained in this place that's not very glamorous or professional, right? But one of the big reviewers when it premiered at the Sundance Film Festival said it looked like a $70 million Hollywood movie, which I think is pretty cool if you can just make things out of socks and whatever, and then it's like, oh, $70 million. And I'll tell you the secret. Does anybody do 3D animation here? Does anybody? Yeah, okay. So the secret is just to put lens flares everywhere. That's just what I did, just lens flare, lens flare. No, don't do lens flares. So I made this film, which is actually playing here tomorrow night, if you want to come see what I did, or it's on YouTube, you can watch it. I'll get into that later. But, so I made this crazy animated film that I had never seen before, no one else, and it's like, okay, I did it cheap. Oh my God, where's the audience? There's no one for me to show it to. I didn't know where to take it because it was so different. And I couldn't just say, you want to come down to my basement? Because maybe that guy would, but I don't know if anybody else. I wouldn't. I mean, I trip out. I'm like, who's that guy making that movie? So what was I supposed to do? I was just this outcast with a bunch of dolls and computers making this weird thing that people were just like, I don't understand it. And I'm like, well, I didn't either. So then it's art, right? If your film doesn't make sense, it's art, right? I don't know. That's what I've been doing. So my first step in trying to reach out to an audience was starting a blog, just using Google's free blogger service, right? And I wrote in it for 2 years, but no one read it. But I kind of believe in like the baseball movie, The Field of Dreams principle. It's like, if you build it, they will come. If you write it, they will comment. So No one did. And there's actually one guy here who reads my blog now, so I was all proud. I was like, a real human who reads my blog. So thanks, Adam, for reading my blog. So my kind of philosophy was like, all right, I look around and, you know, like in the mainstream animation industry, when you watch like behind the scenes on DVDs or whatever, everything is very closed. Well, they take you into their studio and they say, well, this is this proprietary technology that you can never afford and never use and blah, 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 you would never understand. But I was doing this animation that people thought was professional, but the way I was doing it, I thought was very simple. So I'm like, I'm gonna show people what I'm doing, and it's not fancy at all. So here's one of the videos I was putting up on YouTube with no one watching, but I put them up anyway. Oh wait, I guess it's not there yet, sorry. I totally blew my momentum. I have those kind of problems. So I said, no one is here, but someday there will be people here. So I've got to be prepared. And that's kind of what I share with people now. They say, how do I get an audience? And tomorrow I'm actually speaking about how to build an online audience. And it involves sex, violence, nudity, explosions, and satanic blood rituals. So cats. So there's something for everyone if you want to come tomorrow. But, so, okay, let me try to build up the suspense again. So during production, I shot several behind-the-scenes videos. And all I did, kind of what I believe in, because, you know, we're all, if you're a director, you're making films, you're like, I don't want to spend all this time and energy trying to produce these videos for my behind-the-scenes because they take away from my production time. So the ones I do, they're just totally turning the camera on and talking, no time spent, no fancy editing. And it's kind of like, I figured out later, it's like I'm giving them the DVDs extras before they buy my DVD. So it's kind of everything I roll into that I figured out, just kind of gaining the faith of your viewers to show them that you're going to give them something of value and that they can believe in you. So my purpose was to demystify animation production. So here's some of that, I hope.
Okay. Didn't you ask about storyboards?
Oh yeah, storyboards. Where are those?
Okay, those are right here. This is for the forest scene. That set over there is for those trees.
That one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
See, that's that. Exactly the same. I do photorealistic rendering. This photorealistic rendering, you can't even tell the difference. Doesn't it look like a photo?
Yeah.
Can't even tell. Look at the depth
I
and
thought
the
I was
shading
watching
and the
a
light.
movie right
Yeah,
now.
so did I. Like if you look at it really fast like that,
like this.
it's a movie. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. So you don't want to confuse the viewer because they'll think they're watching the movie right now
yeah,
because it's photorealistic.
Yeah.
So that's a storyboard.
So as you can see, I started putting these videos on YouTube that were just me and my friend just screwing around. And I had some other animations that I put up there too. And I just thought that the way what it's all about now, I think, is about building audiences and gaining your audience. And I mean, I'm one of those like jaded internet people, right? Where I'm just like, what the hell, who's this guy? Blah, blah, blah. What, I gotta buy something, screw you. So you kind of have to, it's like there's some pagan god you have to make sacrifices to, right? So that's what I'll get into tomorrow about the blood. But today it's more about the animation. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna put up all these, my old animations and all this making up stuff to just try to appease this internet god, right? Which is made up mostly of 14 and 15-year-olds, which I have various success with, but. So my strategy was to keep them entertained, informed, or bewildered. Because especially today, it's hard to find anything that shocks anyone or surprises them, but that's kind of what I like doing. So I just started putting all these random videos on YouTube. Still, no one watching. I probably had like 50 subscribers or something. Wait, did you put this on here, Liz? Don't listen to spam advice, dog. He's bad. Okay. So my strategies to keep my viewers interested was to give them a look at animation production. So what I wanted to do was like, I like animation. It's the funnest thing I do. So, and like I'm just a happy person for no reason. Well, it's probably due to some mental deficiency, but I haven't been, you know, it hasn't been diagnosed. But so I'm like, I'm going to share animation production with these people. I want them to become animators or filmmakers too, so we can share in the process and kind of, it's more fun for people to understand what you do. So I didn't go to film school or art school. I'm all self-taught through the magic of the interwebs. So I'm like, I'm going to give back because I learned 3D animation from this guy in New Zealand who just makes all these free 3D animation tutorial videos. So that's how I learned. So I'm like, to pay my karma back, you know, in the universal whatever, I decided, okay, I'm going to do these film school videos that maybe teach you things you can't learn in film school. So here's, oh, and there's two of my example viewers. They bleed a lot and don't like to show their faces. Yeah.
shot list.
So this is
which
an example
this
of my
thing, which
film
I showed
school
you in my other videos. That has the characters in it, and shot number, and all this crap. You can actually put the shot times in here from your EDF.
So the thing kind of about that is that if you just like are around other filmmakers and people who do what you do, it's not really interesting to talk about screenwriting or storyboarding or any aspects of production. But when you go online, there might be people that are just starving for that kind of content. So I just thought, okay, I'm going to put it out there. And I found that there were people that, yeah, were dying for this kind of stuff. So it may be something that you do, that you specialize in, that maybe someone in your immediate environment, there's no one that's really, you know, interested in it, but there might be some kid out there in some country that just wants to know about that. So don't discount your own experience and your abilities. Just kind of go out there and share it. It doesn't cost you anything but time. So that's kind of like my philosophy. And then I started just making up contests and stuff. And this is before my film was even finished. It's not even finished yet. I'm still making it. I'm just trying to connect with some people. So like I did a Halloween contest, and this guy was like this robot, which I thought was pretty cool. I don't know why it says eat their brains. Oh, did you? Oh, you wrote that too? Sabotaging me. So people talk about cult films, right? So being, you know, the whatever American I am, I'm like, well, I'll just start a cult, right? Doesn't that make sense? Like, wouldn't that be the best way to get an audience? Just start a cult, you know? So I started studying all these cult leaders and their tips and tactics, whatever. And I needed extras in my film because I was making it. So I just went on YouTube and said, hey, do you want to be an extra in my movie? You'll be eaten and gouged by a horrible monster. So of course, sure. That may seem offensive to you, but to like some jaded internet 15-year-old, that's like the ultimate, right? To get eaten by a monster in a movie, I guess. So I said, send me your photo. And I wasn't like, send me this resolution, do blah, 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 because I've kind of learned you got to give them some freedom. I was just, send me a photo, and I'll use it. So I got about 700 or 800 photos, and I photoshopped a bunch of them. And then I had these crowds of evil cult leader people in my film. So this has now been termed crowdsourcing, or it already has been. There's a guy named Jeff Tao, who's an editor for Wired Magazine, and he just came out with a book called Crowdsourcing. Go check out. And if you want to read about, there's a chapter about me where when I was a child, I didn't go to school, and police used to come take me to school, so I Vaselined up my arms and ran away. So I'm still slipping out of the grasp of the man, but you can read about that. So the way I look at this is that when you utilize crowdsourcing your audience in this way, like I did, which leads into how I distributed the film, but you're getting work done for your film, and then, you know, when you integrate people into your film, you know, each and every one of them is going to say, hey, check it out, I'm in this movie. So I just found countless blogs and MySpace postings with these people were talking about the film they were in because they were really in it. So it's kind of like, in the old way, the system is very closed to the audience. And in the way that I'm going to talk about a little today and more tomorrow is that it's open. And it allows you to open up new channels of distribution and create new audience. So it's just kind of, if you're just in the old way of media, it's kind of, it doesn't make any sense to, you know, leave things open, but that's kind of how I do things. And then they had to sign like a waiver in order to send me a photo. And then in the fine print, I said that I own their soul too. So those can be handy later in bargaining with distributors. I found. I don't like the distributors, but. So then I posted my trailer on YouTube when it was almost finished. And I didn't do a trailer that was like, one man in a world full of cleavage, you know, like, and cars. It was just nuts. Like, I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna have video game music, and then there's gonna be this thing, and it was just random and crazy. And then in 5 days, it had 500,000 views. And at the same time, I had sent it to the Sundance Film Festival just because, like, that's what you do, right? I guess. So I just found out later because my whole thing is about, I mean, it's kind of tough. It's come to me, like, naturally, just being original or just being creative and coming up with something different. But it's like, if you do something the same as the status quo or what's already out there, if you do something where you're trying to look like a mainstream film, you're competing with these huge films with millions of dollars in P&A budgets and stuff. But if you create something totally different, you're creating a new niche or a new place that you can dominate. So that's kind of what I'm about doing something totally different. So, distribution, right? Oh, I'm in the Sundance Film Festival, midnight section. Oh, Blair Witch Project, I'm gonna be a millionaire. Paris Hilton touched my leg. Everybody thought that, right? So I was just a dude in a bedroom, and then in a week, like all these sales reps and lawyers and all these people are like, call me back, bitch. You know, like some of them are really rough like that, you know, like, oh, I'm so-and-so, call me back now. And so, you know, I was a bedroom guy, I was like, no. So I signed with the guy that was like the nicest. But that was my error in the end. I should have signed the dickhead, because he would have been like, give us your money. But so everyone thought, oh God, we're going to be millionaires, blah, blah, blah. But none of these people had seen my film except me. And I knew, like, dude, no one's going to buy it. Like, it's crazy, right? So we had the premiere, and then the first night, it was a Friday night, so people were like, yeah, it's nighttime, it's cool. Yeah, I get this, right? But then the next day, it showed like at noon, and like more than half the audience just left. And they were just like, oh, I want my money back, blah, blah. But in the old media, I would be dead. If my film didn't get distribution at Sundance, it's done, it's over, no one would see it. But I already had this audience on YouTube, and I knew, screw the real world, I have these people online, right? So I'm gonna turn these old media audiences into a sacrifice for my new media audience, right? So one of my friend, who's actually this like world famous painter guy named David Cho, who was like a voice in the film, said, why don't we pretend we're making a documentary on the worst films ever made and film the people walking out of the theater and get them to see all these horrible stuff about my film, right? Because already on YouTube, like younger audiences were talking about how much they liked it. So then I decided to create this propaganda video to alienate future people who would maybe have something bad to say about the film. So, because they don't want to be like the woman who would rather watch tennis, which you'll see in this clip.
It didn't say anything to me. It said, important graphics, atonal music. I just have better things to do.
Doesn't appeal to me.
Okay. Could you be more specific?
No.
There's no point to any of it.
Whatever, it's like, shut up. There's nothing to it.
The whole movie was like subtext. Like there was barely any dialogue at all.
It was all told. The whole story was told with the imagery. That was. There's no point to any of it. Like I guess that turned off some people because you have to think.
They don't like thinking. Just kind of
like, I just want to watch a movie where everything's explained to me.
I'd rather go watch tennis.
The gamers were like, holy crap, is that what I think it is? And then like the ski people were like,
It's artistic, but, you know, and...
Well, I don't know. I suppose if you spent your whole life playing video games, maybe it would have a different meaning for you, but...
Okay. You're not an avid video game player?
No.
So clearly, there was this disconnect between the audiences and the distributors and all this stuff going on, right? So I forgot about this. I just found this recently online. But that was my quote from being at Sundance. So obviously, I wasn't going to go the normal route of distribution, right? If I was almost vomiting when I was dealing with these people. So in the end, I did get some film deals, like distribution deals, but as I say there, the deals were. So, because all these deals that people were telling me were good for my career would have caused me to make no money ever. I would have none of the rights to my film. I couldn't say, you know, have a say in any of the promotion, distribution, anything. But I knew I had this audience and I knew what to do. So, people were telling me it'll be good for your career. And I had this meeting with my publicist, my sales rep, my lawyer, these marketing, all these industry professionals who proceeded to give me the kiss of death and tell me that there was nothing I could do with my film, I would never make any money ever, blah, 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 blah. Right? So what did I do? Did I cry in the corner? No. Because I had this audience on YouTube, I said, well, thank you for your help. You may not know what needs to be done with the film, but I know what needs to be done, and I'm going to do it. So, and before, again, if there was no YouTube and all this stuff online, my film would be dead. It would be thrown in a box, no one would see it ever, because there wasn't a distributor to put it out. And what I realized is that it's so obscure that maybe in a single place, you know, in this town, maybe there's 10 people, 50 people that would be into it. But when you spread that across the world, you know, in a place you can access through YouTube, you have an audience that you can actually sustain yourself from by selling them goods, which I'm doing. So you can become your own distributor, and you can create your own demographic, which I did. There was no demographic for 8-bit video game, Japanese animation, Eastern European puppet animation, ice cream monster movies. But I made that, now it's there. So if you want to make one, you know, I can give you some tips. So having this stuff online, it really has, because I'm the living proof. I mean, I could be an android, but it's closer to living, whatever. But because you hear a lot about this stuff and you hear about the, you know, theoretical, you can do this, right? But I'm one of the people who have done it. So that's why I want to kind of show you that, yes, you can do it. It's tough, but, and I think it's good for culture and art and film in general, because it allows for much more innovative and creative films. Whereas when the business is in control, you know, it's bean counters. It's like boardrooms that decide what get, you know, made. And I like dangerous stuff. I like crazy stuff. And those people aren't going to fund that stuff or sell it or whatever. So I think these technologies and this way you can distribute put film back in the hands of the people and art, because you get to decide what gets made. You come online and tell me you suck. I don't like that. Okay, well maybe I'll make something else. So here's just a little illustration my friend did for this book I'm writing about all this stuff. But for filmmakers, you know, I think distribution has been the final hurdle. Like production, for a couple years now, you can get an affordable digital camera and produce content that looks professional, and there's no question of, you know, if it's good enough. But there's always been this door of distribution that we've been knocking on that we can't get in. But now the door's starting to crack and crumble. And, you know, the distributors have been holding this turkey of money that we want to rip at and blah, because, you know, we haven't been able to sell our stuff. So, yeah, that's what you look like when you're trying to sell your film. Buy it. Ah. So what did I do? So I just said, okay, I'm going to put this out on DVD. So I authored the DVDs, because I used to do that as a job, doing wedding DVDs, which caused the mental, you know, dysfunction I have now. Oh my God, they're going to do the money dance. Oh my God. Yeah. So I designed them. I did all the work. I had this DVD. And then I went on YouTube and I said, you know, I want this to be like a global film or whatever. So I asked my audience if they wanted to translate it. And within 2 weeks, I had the whole film translated into 17 languages. So I could do my DVD release in 17 languages, and then later I put it on YouTube in 17 languages. But I went with this little company called Film Baby, which is affiliated with CD Baby, which is in Portland, Oregon, and they do music. And I went with their standard deal, nothing fancy, where I decide how much I want to sell it for. We sold it for $20. I got $17. I spent nothing on advertising other than me just putting out YouTube videos or whatever, and word of mouth through my audience, which I'll talk about tomorrow if you come to my panel. And the cool thing is these companies like Film Baby have become like sub-distributors, where it was not only sold online, but they made a deal with Rykodisc, which has international retail distribution. So it also went through their channels, but I retained all the rights to it. And I still got 80% or whatever of the sales. So it went on sale October 30th, 2007, online and retail, and like, yeah, it sold 400
Explode
copies.
with joy.
Here's a commercial
or
I made
excruciating pain. Either way, they'll never forget you or the gift you gave them this Christmas, because it was the weirdest, most like what the thing they've ever seen. The We Are the Strange 2 DVD set for only $19.99. The perfect gift for friends, loved ones, or mortal enemies. Just go to wearethestrange.com or a store near you and stay strange.
I mean, it feels kind of weird doing your own commercials, but yeah, you have to do that. So in the end, I put the DVD out, and I made enough money based just on my DVD sales to make my new animated feature film, which I'm working on now. And it went out through, like, it got pirated, like, through torrents. So instead of fighting the internet, I went with it, and I made up this new term called torrentrical, because I like making up terms. So then I just made this video and said, yes, thank you for releasing it, blah, blah, blah. And then I got all this press where people like, oh. And then you go add it to Urban Dictionary, and then it you know. So I just want to let people know, like, you can just make this stuff up. That's what I'm doing. I made up a new style of animation. People like, that woman was like, he made up a new style, blah, blah, blah. And then 6 months later, it was in Wired magazine, learn this style of animation. So, you know, it's just waiting for you to just, you know, create your own path. So without the international audience that I got on YouTube, I wouldn't have made any money, because more than half my views are from languages other than English. So, and also through my views, which I just want to show you, here's just all the different languages it's in. that my audience did, so it's kind of cool that you can get all this for free. And like mainstream studio films aren't really even released in 17 languages. So in the end, my distribution was all through YouTube and through this little DVD company. And I think it's really exciting. And this is something, I don't have any special deals with any of these companies. It's something you can do. And it's just about putting yourself out there and sharing, which is kind of strange compared to the old plan, but it's there. And I think that's the end of my presentation. Thank you. Okay, I guess we can take 2 questions, and you can ask them both at the same time. Okay, I heard you suck. That's more of a comment. Okay, up there.
Sorry, not a question, just a comment.
Yeah.
I'm impressed. Congratulations, it's amazing. And what I'm really happy to hear about is you being so creative at any and every level. And also what impresses me and what I'm happy to hear as well is your international audience, which a lot of filmmakers out there, because I work with a few of them, tend to underestimate. You know, I'm really in the rule of 20-80%, and I think that, you know, we have a tendency in the industry, unfortunately, and as you said, you know, the business model, etc., to really think, you know, that, you know, North America and Europe is it, you know, when you have millions and millions of people,
you
South America, Africa, Asia, it's just unbelievable what's out there.
Yeah, do all the regions at once. And you know,
exactly.
just something to get you kind of, that I'm excited about. Like YouTube recently added captions, so you can add subtitles, like multiple languages.
Exactly.
And then Adobe came out with this technology that takes audio files and converts them into text. So you could do that and then translate it using Google Translators and, you know, do your film in all these languages if you can't get But it's only going to get better, so you can release it in all these languages. So
and I think you're right. I mean, the more daring you are, you know, the best chances, indeed, you are to become somehow one of the best in your own little world. And it's great. Thank you very much.
Sure, thank you. So one more, another question? Oh, right here.
I think that probably, I mean, I love your presentation and kudos to you, really. But it kind of reminds me of what happened in the music industry, which is, you know, 10 years ago, if you go to your big top guy in a record label and you say, I found a guy in New York who has composed all his songs on his keyboard and he's a vegan and practices yoga and he makes all the voices and his name is Moby, he would have slapped me in the face. But obviously, in early 2000, he became a huge record-selling artist, and you kind of suffer the same thing. You went to Sundance, like big boys.
They did slap me too.
And they did all that, but do you think that next time, you are the living proof, next time someone that is as creative as you, even though he's addressing a tiny niche, people are going to have a bit more respect, like, okay, we think he's a weirdo, but hey, people like stuff.
Well, they can, but it comes down to the filmmaker's decision. Like, I had opportunities to make mainstream films for like 7 figures, but I wanted to make my films, not their films. So when it comes down to that filmmaker, it's going to be whether he wants to express himself earnestly and make his ideas a reality or make someone else's. So it's if you're in it for the films or if you're in it for the money. And I'm not obviously in it for the money, so I'm in it to make films. So it'll be up to his decision. So, but yeah, you will continue to gain respect because when you have an audience, you have power. So if he gets an audience, those distributors and those mainstream people will have to respect them. So if you want to come tomorrow, I'll be talking about how to build audiences and showing the film. So again, thank you.